Hello Internet, welcome back to more of our Apartment Rat series. Last episode we we trained our tailoring up till level 6. We are at 6 with 0%. And the goal there was to resize the turnout gear, which we never were able to do, unfortunately, due to not having a high enough skill. Now I looked in the crafting menu for tailoring, and I see we only have one recipe that could potentially level us up, and it takes 2.5 hours to make just one, and it requires felt patches. So for this reason, because of the time consumption, because of the requirement of felt patches, which are a little harder to come by, I don't like it. I don't want to waste that amount of time. You know, we would have to create dozens of these to level up. And we really don't want to invest that much time and energy into it, especially because I think there are books. In fact, didn't we find early on a higher tier sewing book, sewing techniques for designers? So it looks like that only takes you up to 6 as well. That's a bit unfortunate, but it's okay. You know, we're not super worried about that. I think in this episode we will continue to grind our skills. I think we'll we're going to try to level our electronics a little bit, and then we'll talk about I never did talk about going to see my psych again, so I thought we'd talk about that and my medication and things like that. If that doesn't interest you, have a nice day, I guess. I have a swig of Cabernet. We're a bit peckish. Did we heat anything up that we can just snack on? No, we'll just eat a chocolate bar. That's fine. We're overweight again. Also fine. So we're going to read the electronics book, I think, just to start off with, and we should level up pretty quickly. Stop. We're going to pick up the MP3 player. I don't know why it's not dropping things on top anymore. Oh, we used the battery up, so we will swap to the other MP3 player. Maybe should be saving these batteries, but the light batteries are pretty common, so I'm not really worried about it. And the reason we're raising electronics is because we want to make a vehicle recharging station, which will then alleviate the need for batteries because the majority of them are rechargeable. Activate the MP3 player, focus is at 100, and we should finish this book in no time. So I talked a lot about my depression and not having my medication. Last Thursday, so it's currently Monday, and Thursday of last week I had my appointment with my psych, which was fine. It was at 9 a.m., which sucks because I work at night and I sleep all day. So it was a little bit of a hassle to have to stay up to go to the appointment, because then when I do that, I'm never really up. So now we're blind when we use the goggles. We weren't before. Okay. Yes, let's sleep. A little bit of a hassle because, when you don't sleep for like 22 hours, you get pretty agitated, pretty irritated. So it wasn't quite that long, I guess. But so went there. It was fine. They take me in. They always do the weight, the blood pressure when I go there. A little overweight. Actually, technically, I think I qualify as morbidly obese, but then they always say, like, yeah, but you're not morbidly obese. And it's like, well, but technically, if you go by percentages, I kind of am. And they're like, you're fine, you don't look morbidly obese, you're fine. Which is true, but still sucks that I am fit into that category, because I've never been that in my entire life, and it's a little weird. And then I have slightly low blood pressure, which I think I mentioned before. So we're going to eat something. We're going to heat up those pizzas. Although they are frozen. Are they frozen still? They're no longer frozen, so we definitely want to eat some pizza. Oh, they are okay. We're going to heat them up because at some point everything's going to stop freezing. And these are a lot of calories that would go to waste. I can never find what I'm looking for. These are a lot of calories that would go to waste if they thawed, because they would only be good for a day or so. So we will eat the pizza. Down here, meat pizza. Ooh, tons of calories. We will just eat half of one because it is a meat pizza with a higher calorie count. We also take something here for positive morale. Actually, I'm not sure what we're going to be doing next. We might be crafting to raise our skill level now that we've exceeded this book. Actually, we have electronics. Why don't we real quick, let's read electronics circuit theory. This will dictate what we do next. Let's have a look here. Bring our electronics to 6 from an electronics of 3. That's great. That's exactly what we were looking for. And if we look here, we have the recharging station recipe, which is fantastic. Also a power converter, which I think is required to make the soldering iron, which we're going to need as well. And here's the vehicle welding rig. So those are the two things we were shooting for, is the recharging station and the welding rig. They will allow us to do much more with vehicle construction down the road. I wanted to charge ahead pretty much as soon as possible into looking through labs. I'm thinking that might be on hold until we can sort out a vehicle for easy transport, and until we can raise our fab to 7 and or find a book with the pickaxe recipe in it. Or alternatively, we could raise cooking and make some explosives, was what someone in the comments had suggested. Unfortunately, cooking explosives also kind of hinges on a book. I don't think there are any explosives that you can make at lower without a book that will actually blow down a wall. Like the pipe bomb, even though you get access to it pretty much just by leveling up cooking, you can't actually blow up a wall with the pipe bomb. It doesn't deal damage to that environment. So we would need a book for that as well, and I don't think we have that book, so a little bit of a problem. So still a little uncertain of how we're going to get into labs. But for now, we're going to bump up our morale. Again, we're going to drink because that will raise our focus. Really don't want to be drunk. In fact, we've been drinking a lot, and we are lightweight and addictive personality. I've never dealt with addiction in the game, but I really don't want to either. So we're just going to drink some non-alcoholic beverages that have positive morale bonuses. Everything here is booze. We'll drink the root beer. We'll drink the energy cola. And that should do it. We should have pretty good morale with the meat pizza. That's the wrong button. Plus 19 is just not that good, but okay. And we will activate our MP3 player, and we will read the electronics book. So I went to my appointment. A little bit of low blood pressure, a little bit of overweight. A little uncomfortable because I was sitting in the, waiting room, and it's just weird for me to be in a public space, but also kind of not part of the public group. Why is our focus so low all the time now? Like, have you noticed that? Well, electronic circuit theory is apparently incredibly boring, but it seems like lately, like here we have focus gain per minute of 0.42. So why has our focus dropped from 100 to 60 when we have a net positive for morale? I haven't really understood that. It's been pretty hardcore into that lately. Let's, maybe, what do we want to do? Well, there is this. Plus 50. Okay. So we're going to read and keep reading. And it just sucks to sit in a little waiting room and they have a lot of kid clients, so like they have some animated movie playing on a TV just the whole time that you're in the waiting room, which is fine. You got to keep kids from being little pains in the ass. I get it. It's just, how many times do I have to hear the ogre yell at Donkey before I lose my mind? Very thirsty. We'll eat something as well, just a quick snack. Eat a little bit more of a chocolate bar, and we will swap to water this time. So a little nerve-wracking. She calls me back, and I go back to the office, and she asks me how I've been. And you should never ask me how I've been, because it tends to snowball into long rambling comments about society and my mental illness and how those things don't overlap very much, and it's a whole thing. So we had a lengthy conversation. I told her about what had happened with them discharging me without ever alerting me or anything, and she made a note in my file that said even if it's been more than 6 months, he should not be discharged. because basically I'm in a good enough place and I've been living well enough that, like, yeah, she will give me a supply. In fact, she gave me, oh Jesus, I have 11 refills in this, which is crazy to me because I thought they were supposed to see me minimally every 6 months. But so I basically have a year's supply of medication, and if they auto discharge you after 6 months, when your doctor gave you 11 refill, literally a year worth of medication, just doesn't seem very right to me. Out of wood for the 100th time. We're going to make, well, nothing because we're out of wood. So we're going to grab the home wrecker again. Wield the home wrecker. I guess we'll go drag more. This is still not out of charges. That's another thing. I've noticed the light goggles are still at 100% charge, but the MP3 player goes down crazy fast. And so did, I tried a mine, deep in the mine, or whatever it's called, start, and the headlamp drained really quickly. So I really don't understand why light goggles don't drain faster. So we're going to turn off the MP3 player. We're going to go again to gather wood. I mean, there is stuff left. We didn't bash every single thing. It's just a real pain, you know. So I told her about that, and she made a note in the file, which is great because now I don't have to worry about that as much. She gave me a year's supply of medication. I'm still going to call them in like 6 months just to maintain my, you know, status with their company, because even though she made a note about not discharging me, I don't really trust them. Why am I dragging this down here? It's just a waste of time. She, you know, we talked about changing the medication if I felt that I needed to change anything about the medicine, which I said no. I think I'm in a good spot with that. It's just that I hadn't had it. I told her I'd been on a quarter dose. She asked if I wanted to go down. I said no. She said, do you want me to give you a half prescription while you wean yourself back onto the medication? And I said no, because I want to be in control of that. I don't want to, because previously with my pharmacy, if I take a half pill, at one point she had said, okay, well, instead of giving you a new prescription, why don't you just start taking a double dose of what I've already given you? And I said, okay. And then when I went to the pharmacy to get a refill, they were like, no, you just got a refill like 15 days ago. And I explained to them, why do I still have all this crap? I thought I just pulled all this out of there. Where's their corpse? Don't need this stuff. Okay. And then, they gave me a real problem at the pharmacy because they thought I was like, they're not going to give you multiple refills a month when they think that you're only supposed to get it once a month. So that was a real annoyance. And it's embarrassing for me to go into a pharmacy and be like, I don't know. It's just not fun for me. Okay, plenty of wood. So I had a good meeting with my psych. She gave me a refill. I filled it that day because I didn't have my medication for so long. I thought, well, I'm already up crazy late. Might as well run to the pharmacy. On top of that, famished. We've been eating entire pizzas. Why are we famished? Let's make another pizza. Frying pan. I think we have 2 pizzas left. We'll make 1. Oh, because we only ate half of that meat pizza. That's my mistake. So we'll eat the other half of the pizza. And we will eat a little bit of the veggie pizza. And that should do it. We'll drink. It should take us up to full, I think. And we will read. So I'm right back to hungry. And now we're very hungry. That makes sense. Something's going on here, I think. This isn't working. And now we're not now we're peckish. Okay. Whatever. Eat the entire vegetable pizza. What do I care? We will drink more water. And we will go to bed. Again. So this is just skill training. We need to raise these skills in order to get, access to some of the higher end stuff. So I had a good meeting with psych. I got my full prescription back. Basically, I was on 1 full pill a day for each of my medications. And then with the not having an appointment scheduled and all that, I went down to a quarter dose. And now I'm back up to half a dose. And should be really any day now I'll switch back to taking a full pill. Probably not tomorrow, probably on Wednesday. So, and of course, it's psychiatric medications, so these things take time to build up in your system, just like they take time to leave your system. I was off of them for about 3 weeks. I was on a quarter dose for like 2.5 weeks, and I had been on a half dose prior to that because of some other trouble. And it's like I could feel a difference, but I can't really feel a difference now that I'm back on half a dose. I'm not feeling any better, really. I thought that it would be like, like the fog rolling away, in the sunlight. You suddenly see much more clearly. You're magically healthy again. And that, of course, is not how it works. Focus is dropping so fast. Yeah, I'm wondering if the focus is also messed up as a result of the change in turn time, because we are just draining focus. I don't remember it being that way. Heat up this last pizza, which we will consume the entirety of, because why wouldn't we? We're full. We might not be able to drink. It might take us up to engorged. We out of water? No, we have 1 charge of water. We'll drink some mineral water. And we will finish this book off. We will stop and we will activate our MP3 player. Then we will finish the book off. So, obviously it doesn't magically make you feel better. It's going to take some time for me to bounce back. And the reality is that I put a lot of credit on the medication, but honestly, the reason I've been doing so well is not because of meds. Yes, they help balance me out. But ultimately, the things that have made my life better lately have been my personal decisions, my own will to kind of change and be a different person. So I give the meds a lot of credit, and my psych, my group therapists always are pointing that out. They're like, you always give the credit to being properly medicated, and you never take responsibility for the fact that you are making changes, you are working on yourself, you are improving. It's not just, well, I found some magical pills that make you feel... No, it's not that. It's you trying and you shaping the world around you and changing yourself is a big part of it. And they're right, of course, although it's hard to admit that sometimes. Anything going bad, it's been a couple days now, a couple weeks on all this stuff. Less than forever. About forever, less than forever. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Does forever actually... I don't know. Let's, I guess more than 1 week. We'll eat some biscuits. We do have a ton of biscuits we're going to have to go through. Because they all go bad in about a week. That should do it, I think. And let's polish off the very last couple chapters here. So, I saw my psych, got my meds. Feeling a little rough still. It's going to take a little time to kind of bounce back, but definitely feeling better. Just that mental, like even if it was all, because I thought, well, maybe with my meds, maybe you're not actually feeling them leave your system. Maybe you're just imagining it because you don't have them. And that's putting you on edge and making it hard for you. And maybe it's all just, psychological. Maybe you just, are upset that you don't have your meds. And so it makes it harder. Why can't I turn this off? Can't turn it off because it needs at least 1 charge. That's dumb. You can drop that. So we have electronics 6, which should be enough. Really is not enough for the vehicle recharging station. No, recharging station we could make requires soldering iron and solder. Really hate the solder because the only place I know you can get solder is in a friggin' electronics store. Hello everyone, this is me as the editor again. I just was editing this video and turns out that I go on a rant for 6 or 7 minutes. So I thought, well, that's not great content, so we're going to cut that out. The gist of it is that we started looking at the electronics that are available to us, specifically the recharging station, and it turns out that it requires solder. Now, solder is not super duper common. You can find it in electronics stores, which is something I think, go over after this part I'm cutting out. And of course, we had seen an electronics store in a previous episode, but we ran away because it was full of electric zombies. Now, the other way to get solder is that you can actually craft it. The problem is that it requires resin, it requires tin, and it requires, I think, lead. And I was pretty frustrated with that because I don't think I've ever seen tin in the game. Literally ever, I don't think. So that was a real sticking point for me because I've never seen anything with tin. Tin cans are not actually tin, they're tin plated, so they give steel when they're deconstructed. So it's a misnomer, you don't actually get tin from tin cans. I mean, there's tin content in cans, but it's not what we want. And similarly, most of the items in the game that actually do give tin are not listed as a tin material. Most of them are listed as aluminum, which is confusing. So I think I go over in the next episode where you can find tin in the game, but in this episode I didn't know that, and I was mostly just pretty pissed off about it. And similarly, resin confused me because it was spelled differently, but I think when you make solder, you use resin as a flux or something, and it's spelled differently, and I thought it was something else. So it was just confusing nonsense. So what we're going to do, we're going to pass you back to me. There's probably going to be an awkward cut, and I'm going to wrap up the video with the original footage. Sorry for rambling. I wish I had kept my composure, but I get pretty angry over little stuff like that. I'm sure you've noticed, like when we fail to craft fried brains, or when we try to sleep on a floor and can't do it. So, okay, back to me. Don't know what to do about that. And I'm guessing we need level 7 in electronics to make the welding rig. Yeah, because we can't make the welder currently. Or maybe we need a higher mechanics. That could definitely be possible as well. Probably should make a makeshift welder at some point. Not right now. I'm not worried about it right now. I'm guessing that's it for electronics books. Some computer books. Did we ever read that programming language book? I was curious about what exactly that does. SICP. I'm just curious what's in this exactly. Computers skilled at, oh my god, to 8 is very high. Would be great to have a skill level of 8 when we went to the labs. But it requires computers 5 to understand, and getting computers to 5 is unfortunately the only way really to raise skills. The computer skill is to read a book. There is no way. You can't really craft to raise computer skill. You can't really hack your way to a higher computer skill because it upgrades so incredibly slowly. So for us to actually get computers up to the point where we would be able to read this up to 5 is pretty unlikely unless we find just the right books. And we haven't found any of those books. We've only found the base book and the high-end book from what I'm seeing here. So, yeah, not optimal. Maybe we should start reading first aid books as well. Because we need, like, every skill, right? Our mechanics is okay. We're going to be able to do a lot with vehicles with just a 3 in mechanics, although we're going to want to raise it. This raises pretty naturally on its own, but having a mechanics book would help a lot. Our first aid is terrible. We would really like to raise that for dissecting for CBMs, but until we start going to labs and finding auto docs, there's really no point in having a CBM. Tailoring needs to be higher, fab needs to be higher, electronics needs to be higher, but they're to the point where crafting isn't really the ideal way to raise them, and we don't have the books necessary. I really don't know what to do. I don't know what our next step should be as this character. I feel like we should be looting, because looting is going to help find us books and general supplies. but there's just not that much in this town to loot that I'm interested in. So I think, oh, well, we should get a vehicle so we can go to a different town. But then I think, well, but we've set up base here. We haven't really seen a vehicle that jumps out at us, and we don't really have the tools and skills really to build a proper deathmobile. It would just be a car that we've patched together for transport. And that would take time, and I just don't know if that's really what I should be investing my time in. I just don't know. Shooting ranges. I didn't know those were a thing. Might have to check that out at some point. Like, because there's... I don't know. Well, maybe we should go back to the electronics store to get solder. Because if we get solder, we can make the recharging station. If we make the recharging station, we can recharge our batteries, which means that we could start using a welder without any concern for charges, because we could just recharge them. And we could start building a proper deathmobile. But building a proper deathmobile is going to take time. And I wanted to rush to lab. I had to give this some thought. Probably should end the episode. So that's what we're going to do. A little uncertain of what to do. And I think that makes bad content. Because I try to come in with a plan of this is what we're going to do today. And we mostly did that. We raised our electronic skill quite a lot, and that's really what I was shooting for. Same with tailoring. I wanted to kind of get tailoring up so we could look at some of the turnout gear, which unfortunately is still not even resizable, which I think when you have a tailoring of 6, a little ridiculous that you can't resize pretty much any garment at that point, at that skill level, but okay. So that's going to do it. I don't want to keep complaining. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and I'll be back with more Cataclysm in the near future.